What's up, everyone? Today I'm bringing an updated deck profile for my Virtual Worlds. Now, Virtual World actually got some new support in Blazing Vortex, and so I figured I'd update the deck, although I may have to update again depending on if Calamities get spammed or not. But I figured I'd make one now, and let's just get right into the video. First off, I run 3 Lulu, as well as 3 Lily, 3 Gigi, and 3 Lao. Now, all 4 of these have the exact same effect to where you target one virtual world card you control, send one card of the opposite type, like let's say you have a monster, you target your monster, then send a spell or trap from grave, and then they have a secondary effect where you can send the third type to the deck or add it, something like that. Although Lao has an additional effect where it can also special summon a monster, a virtual world from the grave. So they can get to the field pretty easily because you just special summon them out. So that's why you have to run a lot of the spells and traps. So you got that fodder for it. Although the spells and traps are actually pretty good themselves too. I also run the 3 Nyan Nyan and the 1 Toto. Toto's the new card. Now, Nyan Nyan can special... Actually, both of them can special summon themselves from the grave. Although this one can become a tuner. So like if you, this one, if you control no monsters or all monsters are psychic, you can normal summon this card without attributing, and it's treated as a tuner, but banish it when it leaves the field. And if it's in the graveyard, you can discard one card to, or discard one card? No, discard one psychic and or warm monster, special summon it, and it becomes a tuner. Nyan Nyan, if you normal special a level 3 monster, you can special summon it from the grave. So those are the ones you want in the grave, and they can revive themselves. I also run the 3 Ash, the 3 Gamma, and the 1 Psy-Frame Driver to round out the main monsters. Moving on to the spells, I run 3 Virtual World City Qualoon. Now, this one can place one of your virtual world gates directly from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. So that's pretty good. So it gives you access to both your spells and your traps immediately first turn. Granted, you don't really be doing that quite as much. And it's got a few cool effects. Like you gain additional, there's different things you can do depending on how many gates you have in your spell and trap zone. If you have 2, it just increases the attack. If you control 3, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. And if you control 4, special summon up to 4 virtual monsters with different names from your extra deck. That one's pretty good, but the odds of you actually using that aren't as high because that's not really your main focus. Your main focusing is turboing out Calamities. I also run the 3 virtual gate Chuchi, or no, not Chuchi, Quinlong. Quinlong, you can banish 1 virtual card from your graveyard, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. Negate its effects until the end of the turn. That one you're not really going to be using as much. You're going to be, this is the one you mainly want to get into the grave, and when it's in the grave, you can banish it to add a virtual monster from deck to hand. Now, one thing I don't run in this deck is Foolish Sparrow Goods. Like, I do see some people run it, but for me, I just think it's a waste because Foolish Sparrow Goods, yeah, it gets them to the grave, but you can do that very easily with the virtual world cards themselves. You don't need Foolish Sparrow Goods at all. Now for draw power, I run the 3 Pot of Desires and 2 Pot of Prosperity. Now, Desires, this is a pretty well-known card. Prosperity, it's also a new card from Blazing Vortex that I had the luck of pulling. And it's a better extravagance, as in you can choose what cards you send to the grave from your extra deck, or not to grave, what cards you banish. So, and one thing I noticed that, like, I do have a little bit of extra deck space because I'd say there's only like maybe 7 or 8 cards that you truly need. The rest are just in the good cards that are in there. So, you can pull it off, pull it off. And I also run the 1 emergency teleport to round up the spells. Moving on to the traps. I run 3 Chuchi. Chuchi, when it's in the grave, you can banish it to kind of like adjust the levels of your monster. Either they gain 3 levels or lose 3 levels. I also run 2 Virtual Gate Zhuanwu. This is also one of the new cards out of Blazing Vortex. And this one, you can banish it to target 1 virtual world monster in your graveyard. Special summon it, but negate its effects. Then send 1 card from your hand to the grave. So it's kind of like a Monster Reborn in a way, but it negates the effects, which honestly doesn't really matter because you're not going to be using its effects. Virtual World Monsters effects activate in hand, not in grave. Well, Yan Yan does, but no, none of the Virtual World Monsters effects activate on the field. They activate in hand and in graves. So that's also one of the good things, that they can dodge a lot of like negations, like ones that can only affect monsters on the field, which is why Eldritch is seeing play along with Virtual Worlds, because it's a good match for it. Moving on to the extra deck, I run 2 Virtual World Cube. Now this one is I'd say one of the most powerful cards in the deck, and I feel like it gets underlooked, maybe because when people think of Virtual World, they think of, oh my god, Calamities, which makes sense because Calamities is one of the most powerful extra deck monsters in the game currently, and it's probably going to get banned. But even if it does get banned, this deck will still be going, mainly because of this card. Because first off, it can revive itself from the grave pretty easily, and secondly, it's a Macrocosmos. If Calamity gets banned, simple. Switch from Virtual World Control to Virtual World Stun. I also run the 1 Dewey, as well as a Stardust Charge Warrior for draw power. Not to mention 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech and 1 Ravenous Croc. I also run the 1 Jaja, the 1 Long, and the 1 Fan. Also want a new card, Sacred Tree Beast Hyperton. This one also came out in Blazing Vortex. It's not a bad card. It's no True King of all Calamities, but I think it is a substitute for Calamities if it does get banned. Speaking of Calamities, I run the 2 True King of all Calamities. And lastly, I just run the standard Link 4 set. Well, that's all for this spec. Let me know, what do you think? Think Virtual's a pretty cool deck. Do you think that Calamities is going to get banned, or do you think it's going to survive the ban list yet again? Honestly, my money's on it avoiding it again. But who knows? That's going to be all for this video, and I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.